You've been strong for so long, you don't even know what rest feels like anymore. You show up, you smile, but somewhere deep inside, you're asking a question no one hears. Is this all my life is? It's not that you want everything to be perfect. You just want it to feel like it means something. But when you're burned out, even searching for purpose feels exhausting. Here's the truth no one tells you. Purpose isn't something you find after the pain ends. Sometimes it's hidden inside the pain itself. And if you felt numb, invisible, or like your soul is quietly slipping away, you're not broken. You're on the edge of something sacred. And in the next few minutes, you're going to remember who you are. No one told me that the pain I hated was the same pain trying to wake me up. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't punishment. It was the quiet knock of purpose from the inside. I didn't recognize it at first because it didn't look wise. It looked like insomnia, tension in my shoulders, tears I never let fall because I was fine. But pain, like purpose, doesn't always introduce itself. Sometimes it just waits for you to stop pretending. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It hums, soft and constant, like a song only you can hear. It shows up at night when your mind loops. Through everything you said, didn't say, should have said. It shows up in the morning, as a weight behind your eyes that coffee can't fix. You get good at hiding it, until one day, you forget how to feel anything else. That's when the spiritual meaning of suffering begins to unfold. Have you ever walked into a room and shrunk without meaning to? Or said yes while your chest whispered, please no? That's what emotional pain does. It teaches you to vanish in plain sight. But there's something sacred about that ache. It's not weakness. It's a doorway, a silent kind of self-discovery through struggle, where your soul isn't lost, just learning to speak again. And it begins with this truth: you were never too much. Sometimes, the greatest purpose doesn't arrive as clarity. It arrives as exhaustion. It arrives when you're too tired to perform. When you finally stop searching for the answer and start listening to the question, why am I still here, even after all of this? That's the beginning of finding purpose through pain. It's not in fixing what's broken. It's in letting what's sacred reveal itself. We think purpose is loud, ambitious, branded, but the healing journey and purpose are softer than that. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, try again tomorrow, or a breath in the middle of panic that says, you're allowed to rest. Purpose isn't always a plan. Sometimes it's simply presence, and that presence is already a form of healing. So if you're still aching quietly, if you're tired of being strong, maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're being shaped from the inside out. This ache might be God's purpose in your pain, even if it makes no sense yet. Can I ask you something? What if your pain isn't in the way of your calling, but the path to it? Some people think pain is always loud, but what about the kind that hides in silence? The ache behind the smile, the tightness in your chest when someone says, you're so strong. The way you hold yourself together, not because you're healed, but because you think no one would stay if you unraveled. That quiet suffering is the one that changes you the most, because it forces you to go inward and listen. I remember one night, 2:43 a.m., I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was floating in a sea of questions. Not dramatic, not sobbing, just gone. You know that feeling? When your body is present but your soul feels 10 cities away. That's what spiritual awakening through suffering can feel like. Not fireworks, not light, just stillness you didn't ask for but suddenly need. And in that stillness, I felt something shift. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. But it felt like something or someone was waiting. The universe doesn't rush your healing. It waits until you're ready to ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? Because pain is not the enemy. It's the mentor that doesn't raise its voice. You may not see it yet, but even your confusion has meaning. Even the way you pull away from people you love has wisdom beneath it. Sometimes, turning pain into purpose isn't about fixing anything. It's about finally naming what hurts. Not to dramatize it, but to dignify it. To say, yes, this happened, and I'm still here. That moment is sacred. That moment is yours. And maybe that's what divine purpose and hardship really is. Not a perfect life, not a straight path, but a heart that breaks and rebuilds again and again. The cracks aren't flaws. They're entry points for light. They're proof you've lived, felt, and risked being real. And even if you don't know what's next, you're already walking toward it. So let me ask you gently, what part of your life still hurts when no one's watching? Where do you go when your mind spirals and the weight of being fine is just too heavy? What if that place isn't your weakness, but your invitation to slow down, to breathe, to begin again from exactly where you are? The next step doesn't need clarity, it just needs honesty. Some nights, I sat in the dark bathroom just to feel the cold tile on my back. Not because I was breaking, but because I didn't know how to keep holding. You ever feel that? When even brushing your teeth feels too loud. When your own heartbeat feels like pressure. That's not laziness. That's not weakness. That's what emotional pain looks like when it has nowhere else to go. It turns your body into a container, and the weight, it settles behind your ribs. I've cried with the water running so no one would hear. I've smiled at texts while feeling completely invisible. I've walked into rooms and shrunk without realizing, because the fear of being too much was louder than my need to belong. And every time I disappeared a little more, people said I was so composed, but they didn't see me at 3 a.m., wide awake, numb, wired, exhausted, whispering to the ceiling, I can't sleep, and I don't know who I am anymore. That's the pain no one prepares you for. The kind that wraps around your dreams like a fog. You don't even notice you've stopped dreaming until someone asks what you want and you can't answer. Because for so long, you've only wanted relief. And that makes sense. When you're in survival mode, life purpose after trauma sounds far away, like something reserved for people who don't flinch at their own reflection. But even in that fog, something sacred is growing. You don't need to be inspiring right now. You don't need a 5-year plan or a breakthrough. What you need is oxygen, a small breath, a reason to stay. And maybe that reason is this. The purpose of emotional pain isn't to punish you, it's to awaken you, to invite you back to your own tenderness, to show you that your softness isn't what failed you, it's what will save you. Have you forgotten what it's like to be held? Not by someone else, but by your own presence? To place your hand on your heart and say, I know you're tired, but I'm still here with you. That's not weakness. That's soul growth through pain. That's what changes everything. And yes, it's slow. It's messy. It's silent. But it's also real. And real is what heals. So if you've been waiting for a sign that it's okay to stop pretending, this is it. You don't have to smile today. You don't have to rise. You just have to stay. And let the ache become a whisper. The whisper become a breath. The breath become a prayer. That leads you back to yourself. The truth is, your nervous system remembers things. Your mind has tried to forget. You may not recall every moment you felt invisible, but your shoulders do. You may not name every time you abandoned yourself to stay light, but your breath does. That's the spiritual meaning of suffering. It doesn't just echo in your soul. It settles in your cells. Science calls this neuroception. The way your body detects safety or danger without conscious thought. Long before you speak, your body is already reacting. That tight jaw, that frozen smile, it's not just personality. It's protection. Your brain, especially in states of burnout. Shifts from curiosity to caution, from openness to survival. That's why it feels so hard to find your purpose when you're barely holding yourself together. You're not broken. Your system is just overwhelmed. And there's deep wisdom in that. Because even burnout is a form of self-protection. When you stop responding to texts, showing up, dreaming, it's not failure. It's your nervous system saying, I'm out of resources. You weren't weak. You were doing the sacred work of surviving. And now maybe it's time to gently return. So what does that return look like? Not a sudden burst of clarity. Not a perfect morning routine. It looks like one hand on your chest. One slow inhale without judgment. It looks like sitting in a room with no performance. Finding purpose through pain means learning how to be with yourself. Not as a project, but as a person. A person worthy of softness. I'm telling you this because I spent years performing strength, trying to fix myself into being lovable, trying to earn rest by achieving more. But eventually the cost was too high, and what healed me wasn't a plan. It was a quiet morning, sitting by the window, watching light move across the floor, and realizing this is enough. I'm enough. Even now, healing journey and purpose can begin with stillness. So let me ask you something real. What would happen if you stopped trying to be impressive and started trying to be honest? What if rest isn't what you earn after pain, but what you need during it? Can you believe, even just for a moment, that the universe hasn't forgotten you? That the purpose of emotional pain is not to punish, but to awaken you to your own worthiness? Sometimes the help you've been waiting for doesn't arrive the way you imagined. It doesn't come as clarity or strength, but as stillness, as a stranger's kindness, as a video you almost didn't click, as a whisper in the middle of your insomnia that says, you're not alone. I see you. God knows all things, and still chooses the gentlest ways to reach you. Not through thunder, but through timing. Through closed doors that protected you. Through pain that felt senseless, but made you softer. There is a purpose even here, even in what you don't yet understand. The ache you carry isn't the end of your story. It's the doorway back to yourself. You belong here, even in your unfinishedness. If this video held your heart, tell me in the comments, where in your pain do you feel something greater trying to reach you? What moment in your story might actually be an invitation to begin again? And if you'd like a follow-up, something even deeper, a part 2 to keep walking this path together, let me know. I'm listening. Always. Subscribe to Serena Sanctuary and turn on notifications. So next time your soul needs a place to rest, you'll know exactly where to return. You're not lost. You're just remembering the way home.